It's time for Lumberjacks!
Lumberjacks is sponsored by Echo, only professional grade with 5-year warranty. Crown, protect, maintain, save. K100, for all your gas-powered equipment, make water burn. Yamaha, rev your heart.
We're here in Owego, New York at the Tioga County Fair. It's one of the oldest fairs in the entire state of New York. We're here for the Lumberjack competition where they've got 53 competitors competing for over $5,000 in prize money in 12 different events. We had a great show here put on by Gary Hammond and his entire crew of volunteers. This week we're covering the standing block chop, the fire building, and the open modified saw. Nice little town of Owego, New York, along the southern tier of upstate New York, nestled right along the Pennsylvania border, was established in 1787. Actually, the name Owego is derived from an Iroquois word, awaga, which means where the valley widens. And we got the Susquehanna River running right through the town. It's a beautiful little town. This is the second year in a row they've had a lumberjack competition at the Tioga County State Fair. And the lumberjack competition is now in the home stretch. As we head into the home stretch, we have Dave Engasser leading the way with 350 points, threatening to take off with this whole thing. He's being pursued by Matt Bolton and Will Roberts as we head into the standing block chop. And we're going to be showing you the top 4 heats of the standing block chop. This first heat, we got Brad Stevens from Vermont taking on Dave Engasser. I know you know Brad fairly well. You've competed against him a lot of times over the years. We all know Dave Engasser. He's been around the game for a while. This is certainly a matchup of the veterans.
Veterans are here, and it's big wood. This big, soft poplar wood, and actually it's been chipping out quite nice, thank heavens for these guys, but nonetheless, it really separates the pretenders from the contenders, as you say.
And once again, when you're chopping big wood, you got to hit your lines. Looks like Engasser's got some good power, some good speed, a little bit of his line stair-stepping in the bottom there, but nice downward strokes hitting his lines. And Brad's not doing too bad himself as Engasser makes his way over the backside.
Puts a good driver in his firewood, which he wants to do now, so he wants to try to get rid of these big chips on the backside, and it is actually chipping quite well for him, so he's going to be getting into the smaller wood and looking at driving it off here before long.
Brad Stevens a little bit long in the tooth these days, gingerly makes his way over to the backside. Engasser's way ahead at this point. He's going to maybe chip one more time upwards there, and he's going to put some drivers in.
So he's into the small wood now. Both guys getting into the small wood here on side number 2. Dave's starting to drive it off. Number 2, it wobbles, and number 3 takes it off. 47.9 seconds he now has the time to beat.
And you can see in here Brad Stevens gasping for air as he finishes off his chop. Dave, you got to be pretty happy with that chop, although at the very end there, did you wood yourself or stump yourself or whatever you want to call it, run out of wood?
Yeah, really I'm not very happy with it all. I didn't open right, and when you start a track meet with your shoes tied together, you can't run. I didn't have any slope, and it showed.
Well, that's a good analysis by Dave. Lots of things wrong there. Bad slope, actually wooding himself on both sides. So all kinds of problems, and I think it'll cost him the overall because coming up next we have Mike Ash taking on Chris Henning. Both guys good standing block cutters as well.
Now these guys battled each other in the underhand chop, as we saw last week on Lumberjack's TV series. Who's going to win this battle? It was Henning that won the battle of the underhand chop. This is Henning and Ash, round 2.
Ash's favorite event, standing block chop, and he's getting into it, but the big long, there's a bad knot for Mike. But the big long swings here of Chris Henning, of course, are going to stand him well.
Time to beat Dave Engasser, 47.93 in the last heat. Both guys in their backside. Big Chris Henning, not really keeping up the pace that he should be. Mike Ash, his axe is really moving that wood.
He had to chop a lot smaller face in the front because of that knot, and he's going to drive a little bit more wood here, but he's going to do it. It's already starting to wobble. Mike Ash is going to win it with a 30.5.
And round 2 of the chop, Henning versus Ash. This one goes to Mike Ash.
And Sasquatch putting in the final few drivers to try to get this thing done.
So 11 strokes to the front. I bet you would have liked to have been 8 in the back, or even 9, but you had a hard time getting it off.
Yeah, I should have come off in 10 in the back. My second round wasn't out around far enough. A big knot in the front when I went to put my drivers in kind of threw me off a little bit mentally. I was kind of worried about bending the axe.
Good job there by Mike Ash, leading the way with a 30.55. In the earlier heat, we had Wilson and Browse now holding down second and third. We're back in Owego, New York at the Tioga County State Fair. A fantastic competition, now in its second year for the Lumberjack competition. Here's show organizer Gary Hammond. Gary, it's not the first time you've run a show. I know it's only the second time here in Owego, but just tell me, what are the successful elements of running a good Lumberjack competition?
Well, mainly you're looking to please the crowd. The spectators are the people that came to the competition. They're the people you have to keep happy. So everything that we do is to make sure that they enjoy the experience. But you have to have the wood together, you have to have all the facilities in place, and of course, all of the New York State Lumberjacks Association, their equipment, all their manpower. It'd be impossible to do a show without them and without the support of the local community. Obviously, Tioga State Bank sponsored the competition. We had a new sponsor this year with Echo Chainsaws, and we're really happy to have everybody on board. The amount of work that was done and the effort put forth by the community and by the association was excellent.
We're changing gears from chopping into sawing. We're hitting into the men's single bucket total. We're going to be watching the top 4 heats. This first heat, Kevin Moynihan taking on Trevor Beaudry.
Talking about an event that's really taken off in the last 5 to 10 years, this single buck. Even we always used to watch double buck. Now it's the single buck saw because, of course, one man runs them, and everybody's getting good blades now, and the times are close.
It can be a grueling event, especially when you got 18 inches round of white pine. Kevin Moynihan running a JP Mercier saw on the left-hand side. Look at that saw cutting wood.
Trevor Beaudry had a hard time getting his saw going. He's actually a great single buck sawyer. You see, he's running good technique here, but he's not going to catch Stumpy, as Stumpy has trouble at the end.
Well, he could have been a second or two faster. He had to go back and saw off that last remaining 1/2 inch or so, and that's definitely going to cost him a little bit of money. Yeah, pretty good cut there. I see you just got a comment from Andy Schreiner talking about all the wood being there. Most important is you get it all cut, right?
Correct. I want to thank Mr. Jewett, Dave Jewett, for the saw, JP for filing it, and it was a good cut. I broke out at the bottom, but I cut all the wood. It's all that matters. I got the complete disc.
Well, a good cut there by Kevin Moynihan with a 16.28. We still have 3 strong heats to go, and I'm guessing it's going to fall this next heat, possibly in this next heat. Chris Henning taking on Will Roberts, a couple of guys from New York.
Well, they're both tall men, and they have big, long strokes, which is exactly what you're looking for in the single buck event.
Well, 18 inches round of white pine is no easy feat. This is a marathon. These guys have got to have a little bit of endurance. They've got to have saws that are working, and a little bit of a hang-up there by Will Roberts as he buckles the saw.
And it's going to cost him a little bit because Chris Henning is motoring through the last bit of this cut, and he's got it down in 13 seconds flat.
That's going to be a tough time to beat as we head into the last 2 heats and 4 more sawyers. Great race there with Will Roberts. You got Stumpy as a wedger giving you some lubrication there. Just tell me how your cut went in general. I mean, you use a lot of strength.
Yeah, I do. I think I get a little too much over the saw and put a little bit too much weight on the saw. It went off slow off the start, but I try to take a little weight off the top and off the top, and started speeding up towards the bottom of the cut. So.
You watch how the guys stand when they're doing the single buck here, Bill. You see that Chris Henning actually has his feet a lot closer together, which puts him up a long ways in the air, and he actually can lay that weight right on the saw. He actually saws much the same as guys down under with that big angle in his single buck.
Well, here we go. A couple of guys, Mike Esch, Dave Engasser, don't quite have the height of Will Roberts and Chris Henning. 13 seconds of time to be set by Chris in the last heat. A great start by both guys. Look at Engasser going on the right-hand side with that pace.
Boys, I tell you, they're both sawing well right now. This is going to be anybody's game here, but Mike Esch getting in the small wood. It's going to be Engasser has a hang-up, and Esch takes advantage of it and gets it off.
What a classic reminder of how difficult it is at the bottom of the cut to go all the way through, and Esch just pounces on it. What a great race there with Dave Engasser. It was neck and neck right to the very end. He hung up. You were kind of flawless. So tell me about the bottom of your cut.
Yeah, I cut the bottom a bit better than the top. Just wanted to be smooth. I was kind of heeling a bit too much at the top and short stroking a little bit. It was okay cut.
It was a come from behind cut because Dave was ahead of you most of the way, but you picked it up when it mattered most.
Yeah, he's a pretty good single bucker. I mean, he and I usually have a pretty tight race.
Well, that was a real tight race. It was 0.3 of a second that Engasser was edged out by Mike Esch, and he clearly took advantage of it at the very end of the race. This last heat, Nathan Waterfield from Cherry Valley, New York, taking on Matt Bolton from Canandaigua.
2 more great single buck cutters, and again, there's very little room here to squeeze in. Everybody's in the 13 seconds right now, so these guys have to have a flawless cut, which it looks like Nathan's having up here in the top left.
The stocky Matt Bolton on the right-hand side using a lot of power, trying to pick up his pace a little bit, and Nathan struggles a little bit at the end. Another photo finish. What a great finish. Matt Bolton just edges him out with a 13.06.
Nathan wants those last 2 strokes back.
A fantastic race, but the heat before, we talked to Mike Esch about how important the bottom of your cut is. And, I mean, you would have won that handed. That was very close. We still haven't got the official results, but tell me about the bottom of your cut.
Yeah, honestly, I that was a new saw that I was trying, and was cutting really well, but I think the whole time through the cut, I was thinking too much, and I wasn't sawing. And when I got into the bottom, I think I wasn't thinking. And yes, I didn't commit to the bottom. I didn't stay focused all the way through the bottom, flatten out and finish strong. And yeah, it definitely cost me. That hang is all of it, you know.
Of any place not to lose concentration is when you're competing in New York State, because usually the times are close, as we see in the single buck scoreboard with Chris Henning sitting on top.
Here we are back at the Lumberjack competition. We are headed into the home stretch. We're at the Tioga County State Fair in Owego, New York, and this next event is the water boiler. You referred to it, Rod, as the kettle boil, but this one here, a little bit of a difference here for the New York State Lumberjack Association. It is a competition only for the women. They wanted to add it a women's event. They added the water boil. We got 12 keen competitors. We got a Canadian team. We have 5 American teams, and it's going to be a great battle here as they try and boil 8 ounces of water.
Most of these girls will have to reach back to their college days, guys, where most of them learned this trade and, of course, do all the things that they used to do years ago to get this kettle boiled as fast as they can.
Now, we have a wide range of competitors here in the water boil, some with minimal experience, some with a whole lot of experience. As you mentioned, Rod, a lot of them learned at college. And this is a doubles event here in the Tioga County State Fair. How does it different a little bit when you're doing it on your own or working in pairs?
Working in pairs makes it a little bit faster. So typically you'd expect a faster kettle boil time when 2 people are doing it, because one's splitting the wood, the other person is building the fire. So usually that quickens things up a bit.
Now, some of the tools of the trade we're going to talk about a little bit later when they get started. But one of the keys, of course, and it's up to the organizer, is they're given a block of cedar. And that can also vary as well. Sometimes people will cut the wood just a couple of months before, throw it in the sun, hope that it's dry. Others will take maybe a full year to kiln dry it or let it make sure it gets air dried and it's really dry. So how early in the game do you got to realize how damp or is there any moisture in the wood?
When you lift your block, as soon as you're giving your block, lift it. If it's a light block of wood, you know there's not much. Oh, look at there. Somebody's using a draw knife here on that.
Well, it's not a bad way to get some shavings. We're going to see if it's going to work out for them or not. And you can see some of the Americans, they actually wear toe guards because they hold the block like that, and they're cutting into their feet. But she, of course, got some safety wear on her shoes.
Very interesting that there's 2. Usually in Canada, of course, it's 1 axe, and of course you make all your shavings with the axe. You can see here people using spoke shaves. Typically they use knives at the collegiate level to actually get those shavings off. But if the block is nice and dry, I wouldn't even start splitting it first. I'd just get into my shavings right off the outside.
And I see one of the teams here using the old Rod Cumberland technique with the extended handle outside the head there, where you can use both hands to actually shave on the block. You can see Kendall using her left hand to grab the top head of the handle.
Good idea to actually use that extended handle, because a lot of times the girls have a hard time getting they don't have the upper body strength that a guy does, and usually they struggle a little bit getting those shavings off, and also with splitting the wood. So that's why you'll see the girls actually splitting into their toes, makes that a lot simpler, and also using this draw knife, again, makes it a lot easier for the girls to get those shavings off.
Now, it's right around here that you're going to find out exactly the moisture content of your wood. If it takes off with a pile full of shavings, then you can now determine how fast you want, or how big and fast you want to build this fire. If it's really dry, you can maybe get straight to the pencil fins. If it's a little bit moisture, maybe you want a few more shavings.
Excellent. Very good point, Bill. You're exactly right. And if you strike that match and put it in the shavings and they take off, start splitting pencils, and don't worry about the size. Right here you can see it's nice dry wood. They're putting on big pencils here on their kettle boil. That's great, because they know the wood's dry, and that actually will catch quick and create a lot of heat under the kettle for them.
Now this team right here, that's Kara Stone on the left, Alexis Halstead on the right. They are local favorites, actually. Alexis is from the town of Owego, and they are doing some fantastic work there with their kettle on there, and now they're blowing. Maybe they should be adding up a little bit around the sides of the cans to keep the heat in. Maybe they're not doing enough. They're just getting to the blowing maybe too early.
I agree 100%. I would actually build that right up around the top of the can before I started blowing. A lot of times if you start blowing too early, you can actually blow your fire out and actually hinder it from burning as quickly as you'd like. This one here, you see Melissa DeCantis actually has built about 5 layers before she put her kettle on. That's actually kind of overkill. I didn't put that on at the second level.
Now the team of Kendall Edmondson and Lily Watloffer are having a hard time getting things going at all. There's our Canadian team, Melissa DeCantis and Emma Crossy, but they're not going to catch these guys right now, although they don't have anything built up around the side of the can. That's Kara Stone and Alexis Halstead doing really well, but they could lose this heat.
They might lose it, but again, Bill, there's lots of wood underneath that kettle, which is really the key. And because they put big sticks underneath it, it's going to keep on boiling here, and I think they actually might get it.
Well, Melissa's trying to get her fire going, maybe a little bit too late, I don't know, but she does have a lot more built up around the edge of the can. It's going to contain the heat. We just reached the 3-minute mark, which is about the time when this water should be boiling over.
When you get the kettle like this here, not much around the outside of it, you want to hope you have a lot of fire underneath of it, because it's going to have to push it right at the sides of the can. And here it comes. You see it's holding a little bit because it wasn't around the outside, but there it is. 3 minutes and 13 seconds for our first place team.
And there it is, the local favorites, Kara Stone and Alexis Halstead, win the water boil. So here in Owego, New York, at the Tioga County Fair Lumberjack competition, you are allowed to use a spoke shave. Is that an advantage?
I don't know. I usually just use a knife, but for this, I used a jaw shave. But I don't say it was an advantage. I think it's the same as a knife.
Okay, you know, absolutely, it helped you out. And just tell me what your strategy is and where you learned how to do fire build / water boil.
My strategy was just to get sticks going as quick as I can over to her and get that fire built. You know, as soon as I got enough sticks, I'm gonna hold the can and she's gonna blow. We gotta keep building as it goes. I learned to fire build from Finger Lakes, and she learned to build from Alfred, and we're worst enemies really at college. So
you've been on the college circuit a little bit.
Yeah, for 3 years.
Well, I think that's the most cedar I've ever seen not burned in a kettle boil in my life. On the scoreboard, though, Stone and Halstead take over the Canadians for first place.
We're back here in Owego, New York at the Tioga County State Fair and the Lumberjack competition, and we are headed into the last event of the overall competition. It is called the Hot Saw, the open modified saw. It's the anything goes chainsaw rod, and we're going to be showing you the top 5 heats.
You've got to love the hot saw, hot saw, hot saw, and starting things off, Will Roberts is taking on Trevor Beaudry. Both these guys fairly new at the hot saw event, so it'll be interesting to see how they make out.
And we're sticking with the trend of the trembling aspen here as the wood of choice, but this time it's 3 cuts, down, up, down, of 15 inches round.
15 inches round, and obviously the bike saws usually have an advantage over the chainsaws. And here we go, Will Roberts doing a great job. He's got 3 cuts on the ground. Trevor Beaudry still trying to get his saw started.
Nice conservative cut there by Will Roberts, puts 3 down in 6.8 seconds.
And Beaudry still doesn't have a saw running.
Pretty flawless there, but I saw you took a couple of seconds to get your saw up to our high RPMs, right?
Yeah, I don't really know why. I've only had it for a year, and I've only been running it this season, and it's slow to get going, but once it gets going, it rips pretty good.
Well, 688 is a pretty good time here in the hot saw competition. We still have 8 competitors in 4 heats here, and we got a veteran team right now, a veteran pair of competitors. Tim Keach, who's won a lot of competitions, and one of the favorites going into any hot saw competition, Chris Sikora.
Chris is really smooth in the start, really good at getting the cookies off, so it's going to be good to watch. He does have a little bit of a hesitation getting into the wood.
And a hesitation on his upcut as well. Chris Sikora really slow on this one as he clocks in, and we're at 7.55. He's not going to win it as Will Roberts still leads with 6.88 seconds.
2 very uncharacteristic cuts for these 2 guys. Are usually the top of the heap, lots of trouble.
Now, you're one of the top guns here in the hot saw, but you can't be happy with that performance. You took a little bit of time to get into that second cut.
Yes, I did. I put a new tune-up in the motor. I'm still learning how to make it run really good. So I'm relearning the motor. So because I'm relearning the motor, I took it easy. I just said, let's get 3 safe on the ground. They're paying back 10 places. I know I may not take first, but hopefully I'm in the top 5. If I'm in the top 5, I'll be happy. But there's still a lot to be learned with the new setup I got.
Well, we got 4 more competitors. 688 still a time to be set by Will Roberts in the first heat. It's going to be tough for Sikora to make the top 5. We got Nathan Waterfield here. He's got a big machine taking on veteran competitor Mary Reeder. And Nathan's got the women's tank top on to make him go a little bit faster.
Mary Reeder coming off a good finish in the other modified chainsaw class, so she's going to be looking for a good cut here. Nathan off fast. Oh, he's got a bad cut in the second cut.
He's going to have to take a DQ. No, he goes back for a 4th cut to make sure he gets 3 on the ground. And look at Mary on the right-hand side. Her bar is barely long enough to make it through. So when you miss your upcut like you did in your second cut, you can explain to me how that happened, but you don't have to take another upcut. You can complete the race by finishing a 4th down cut.
Yeah, the typical protocol is a down, up, down attempt, and then any cuts after that can be down. So yeah, it was a legal cut, even though it wasn't as fast as it could have been.
Wow, we should pack our bags, head for New York. That's a lot better on the hot sawyers if you're able to take that cut you missed going down. Oh, there's a blast from the past. Look at that. Chip Arthur, I haven't seen him in years.
Yeah, and there's Brad Stevens, about the same age. Both these guys are in the twilight of their career. That is for sure. Here in the hot saw competition, a race of veteran competitors. Look at Brad Stevens. He messes up his first cut, his second cut almost pushes him out of the wood.
All kinds of trouble here for Brad Stevens, but Chip Arthur doesn't even have a saw running yet. So, man, this heat here has all kinds of trouble from start to finish.
You're not a weak guy. You're not a small guy. That thing was pushing you all over the place. Almost pushed you halfway to yesterday.
Yeah, it's all on how you put the bar into the wood, and it wasn't a good smooth run. It knocked me all around, and I wasn't ready for it.
Well, that is entertainment. You can see the power in that machine held by Brad Stevens, throwing them all over the place. He did get 3 legal cuts. He's got a time of 7.00 seconds. It puts him in second place right now behind Will Roberts this last heat. Dave Engasser taking on Mike Ash.
Well, these are the big guys. We expect 3 good cuts from them. There's a good cut from Mike Ash. Oh, he's bogs in the second cut, but look at that. Dave Engasser gets 3 on the ground.
In 6.16 seconds, and Mike Ash is going to have to take a DQ on that one.
And Dave Engasser is going to be the winner of the Open Modified Chainsaw.
Now, just tell me about how the machine handles when you're trying to, 60 pounds of machinery there, trying to get 3 cuts in 4 inches.
Oh, that's a good old saw. It's usually just waiting for me. I mean, about the only thing better is an Echo chainsaw.
Well, when you get to the Open Modified Saw, there's not much better entertainment in the sporting world. What a fantastic race with Dave Engasser winning it with 6.16 seconds.
And that crown pivotal point today focuses on 2 collegiate girls from the United States, Kara Stone and Alexis Halstead, who takes first place in the water boil, besting the team of Crossy and DeCantis from Canada.
What a great competition. Look at that scoreboard with a tie for third place between Chris Henning and Mike Ash, both at 225 points. Matt Bolton squeaking in there at second place with 250. But our K100 Lumberjack of the day is veteran competitor from Virgil, New York, Dave Engasser, with a total of 470 points.
And a big thanks to all the sponsors to make today's show possible. Big thanks to Tioga State Bank and also the New York State Lumberjack Association. Come back again next week when we're going to Squamish, BC, when it's time for Lumberjacks.
Lumberjacks is sponsored by Echo, only professional grade with 5-year warranty. Crown, protect, maintain, save. Quick Dam, the new alternative to heavy sandbags. Yamaha, rev your heart.
When I do kettle boil, the thing you want to do is get your kettle on the fire as soon as possible. To do that, you have to have your shavings ready as soon as you can. A lot of guys will split their block first, take the shavings from the inside. I don't. I save those 2 seconds and take my shavings right from the outside of the block. I'll usually find a split in the block, such as I have right here, so as I'm making shavings, usually I'll get 2 for the price of 1. So on the word go, I'm making shavings just as fast as I can. The other thing I've done is I've modified my axe. Rather than just having 1 hand pushing on it, I've lengthened my handle here so I have 2 hands pushing as hard as possible. You make my shavings a whole lot quicker that way.